Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Buns. Welcome to the road to Gladiator. Now, today we're going to start a new segment in the series called Gameplay Breakdown. Now, this is where I take the past 2 or 3 days of games that I've played on stream, and I pick some selected games I thought would be good to look over, and we're going to look back at them and commentate on what went well in the games and what went wrong. That way we can get an idea of where we're at, see improvements that we've already made, and set ourselves some goals for things that we can get better at. This is a process that anyone that wants to get better at World of Warcraft Arena is necessary to do to make big improvements. So A, it's important that you record your games. B, it's important that you go back and look at them. C, it's important to make sure that you have a good balance between what went well in the games and things you can improve on. You don't want to look at one side more than the other. You want to have that balance so you have an idea for where you're at as a player right now, but some areas that you can improve on. So, without further ado, let's jump into it, guys. This first clip is an excellent way with dealing with demon hunters in arenas. It's something that I mentioned in our demon hunter breakdown video that I recorded a few days ago. I'm playing with an assassination rogue in this video, and I'm playing sub. One of the best ways that you can deal with a demon hunter in a 2v2 situation is open with them with cheap shot, and then depending on whether or not they trinket that first cheap shot will determine if you go on them for the rest of the game or not. He trinkets the first cheap shot, so I put him in a full blind. Now he has no trinket, so we have a 2v1 versus this warrior, and I'm going to shadow dance here and get the sap off onto the demon hunter, creating a 2v1 situation where he no longer has a trinket, and we've completely taken him out of the game. Now, you can see that my health total right now, just going against this warrior alone, puts me at about 50%. So the next time around when I get into this situation, I'm going to want to pop my evasion earlier, because as of right now, the demon hunter just gets out of the CC chain, and if I can have 80% life total by the time that he gets out of the CC chain, we're going to be in a much healthier position to take this guy down 2v1, regardless if I have cooldowns up or not. So with that being said, we do end up getting the win here, but it's a little bit close. We end up knocking this guy out in a stun chain, but it was a close call. This is a very effective way if you play a rogue to whether or not determine on if you should go a demon hunter or not. Cheap shot in the opener. If they trinket, blind. If they don't, commit all in on the demon hunter. Another mechanic I want to talk about in this video is the use of vanish. Now you can see at this point in this video that I'm caught without my trinket. Now I can see that the demon hunters looking to use metamorphosis leap over to me, stun me, and finish me off without my trinket. But I know I have vanish, and if I use my vanish preemptively before his stun lands, my character after a second will fade out and go invisible, and he will no longer be able to target me. So keeping this in mind, I'm at very low health. I'm going to try to use this as my escape in the video. So using my vanish preemptively before metamorphosis lands off, I'm able to go invisible. You can see my player frame drop, and I'm able to sneak away just barely. A super helpful mechanic. In this clip, I'm playing with a demon hunter and we're going against a feral and a rogue. Now remember, as a rogue, patience is a virtue, and I'm playing with a DPS that does a high amount of damage, burst damage consistent, and can keep himself up for a while. So I let the feral druid open in this clip, and I'm waiting for the rogue to come out. I'm immediately putting the blind into him, and he immediately trinkets. Being patient paid off in this matchup. We end up getting him into a full stun chain, and he has no trinket, and we immediately kill him. Understand when you're in the driver's seat, and you can dictate for the rest of the match how the pace of the game is going to go. There's really no reason for me to open earlier in that match, and we get the trinket out immediately just for being patient. In this next clip, I want to talk about a weird mechanic in the game called combat bugging. Any class that has control over their pet, such as Warlock, Mage, or Hunter, can use a bug in the game called combat bugging where they send their pet in to attack, and immediately as they hit their attack command, it puts that target in combat as long as the target they're hitting is within 100 yards. Now in this case scenario, I go and sap the Warlock, and he does not abuse the bug. He's still on the mountain. I'm able to sap him. But in a lot of case scenarios, I'm not going to be able to get that sap off against good players because they will be in combat because of their pet. Now with this being said, the reason why I bring it up is it would in most case scenarios be better for me with that knowledge to actually sap the DK here and go onto the Warlock, as I will actually be able to get a guaranteed sap on the DK as opposed to the Warlock, which really depends on the player's knowledge of the bug or not. Something to keep in mind with the mechanic going on with that class. This is a video that I got on stream of a 3v3 skirmish that I ended up joining into for Rogue Lock Priest versus Rogue Lock Paladin. Now initially going into this fight, I was looking to set up a sap for my team to be able to push in after gates stowed down, And I wanted to be able to sap the Paladin, but I ended up sapping the Warlock, which was a really bad choice. We can see, obviously, he's already in combat, even though I didn't get the sap off. So if the Paladin were to heal him at this point, he would get in combat and I wouldn't be able to sap. Now, the Paladin was freaked out by me sapping the Warlock and ended up going around the pillar. So I was able to get the sap off there, but I need to set myself up in a position next time where I can get the sap on the Paladin rather than the Warlock. I continue getting pressure here on the Warlock, getting a off stun on the Rogue, and by getting that off stun, I realize that I'm going to be okay not to be able to trinket here. My priest had full health. I decide to wait until the CC's over to get back onto the Warlock. Now, I'm using a lot of my kicks onto the Warlock at this point to keep his pressure down, but I see that my Warlock is making a swap into the Rogue, so I try to get over there to do some off pressure. Now, you can see that the Paladin uses Blessing of Sacrifice on the Rogue, and it takes me 3 or 4 globals to realize that he's running the full Sacrifice Honor talent. And the full Sacrifice Honor talent allows him to be able to use Blessing of Sacrifice and be able to absorb 100% of the damage done to that target. So I have to swap off of the Rogue. One thing that I have to improve on in my gameplay is using my Shadow Step more efficiently. You can see here I Shadow Step the Warlock on accident instead of Shadow Stepping the Paladin for the blind, and it's just a little bit of time that I can be saving. I need to be using it a little bit more efficiently in my gameplay, not just this video alone. We continue getting pressure on this Rogue, get him in a situation where he's out of line of sight of his healer, and he uses Vanish out of the stun to be able to try to get away and buy his healer some time, but I realize he's on the back foot there, and after a great fear from our priest, I trinket that fear, realizing that we're in a great situation to kill. Now, the Paladin's going for a cast here, and if I'm really on the ball, I would be able to Shadow Strike kick that ability, or Shadow Step kick that ability, so it's just another opportunity to go back and look at the games and realize some opportunities where I maybe could have gotten a kill a few seconds earlier. In this matchup, it didn't end up mattering, but in a close matchup, a few extra seconds may determine a win or a loss, so it's something that I've got to look to improve on in my gameplay. In this video, I have Rogue, Arcane Mage, and Mistweaver facing off against Priest, Windwalker, Paladin. Now, my goal for this matchup is to try to lock down the Priest as much as I can while getting effective CC onto the Paladin. Now, looking to get the sap right off the bat, I end up catching the Monk, not getting into combat, opening on the Sprees. And I immediately open on the Sprees, but whenever you're dealing with Sprees, the most important thing is that you save your interrupts and some stuns to lock them when they go into their Void Eruption. We force the first Blessing of Sacrifice onto the Priest immediately, and the Paladin goes for the Hodge on our Mistweaver, but everyone's topped off, so it's not really that effective. He goes into his Void Eruption, so I start stunning him here on second and third DRs to just try to lock him down from getting a lot of momentum going. And as I'm rotating through my combo points here, I see the Paladin poking out, and I go for a Shadow Step kick, which is something that I improved on from the games previously during the day, lining that into a blind, forcing a long CC chain here, and we actually end up overlapping Dispersion and getting Bop from the Paladin. So we get 2 cooldowns at once, and as I'm trying to get myself back into the mix here, our Mage lands a full Sheep onto the Paladin. So I have a lot of pressure right now going onto the Priest. Because of our Shadow Step kick earlier in the matchup, I'm in the Paladin's head and he's trying to fake cast my kick, but we still land a second Shadow Step kick and are able to lock out the Paladin and seal the kill on the Priest. One thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with a player that's fake casting a lot to try to get your kick, you are adding time to your CC chain for them fake casting and not healing their partners. Don't kick someone until they're at 80 to 85% of their cast bar, or kick them immediately. Use that time to your advantage. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the first gameplay breakdown in the Road to Gladiator series. We're going to have a lot more to come into the future. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two from the video, and you also get to see the process itself of going back and looking at your own footage to be able to pick out what went well for you and what went wrong, so you can make improvements going into the future. I look forward to catching you guys on the next video, and see you guys on the live stream in the afternoon. Until next time, guys, keep it easy, everyone. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Buns. Welcome to the Road to Gladiator series. Today we're going to do our first breakdown on a class that I think everyone is very curious about. That class being Demon Hunter. Now, not only is it the new